Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome back to another episode of the Since I Was Young podcast, all things Heart of Midlothian, for news, chats, and debates with your lovely host, myself, Ewan, and Alan. Alan, how are you doing, sir? And how are you feeling after that result at Tynecastle this afternoon?
Oh, buzzing, delighted, absolutely over the moon.
Not bad, eh?
All of the things at the opposite end of the scale from frustrated and annoyed as I was last time.
Absolutely, man, absolutely. And as Alan just mentioned there, that is going to be our main talking point for this podcast. Andy Halliday is back and he is firing on all cylinders. The last 20 minutes was absolutely superb. Even though we were 3 goals up, anything could happen in that last 20 minutes. But fortunately, Halliday was there to just calm things down and just make sure that we got over the finish line to secure 3 points. And also, we're going to be talking about the actual game itself as well. So, yes. Just to clarify that, it was a very comfortable win for the Hearts at Tynecastle this afternoon. It was a 3 o'clock kickoff against Livingston, and it ended in a 3-0 win to Hearts, which was absolutely beautiful. So we'll get into that in a wee bit as well, but we'll also have our usual news segment as well. It's just to mainly talk about one main point, specifically being contracts in the squad as such. We'll go into a wee bit of depth about what Robbie has had to say on that, and we'll go through some of the players as well, and we'll have a wee chat amongst ourselves, who we want to get tied down and who we may or may not want to be staying here. But so yeah, that kind of will be the podcast as a whole for this one. But as always, before you start, if you are a fan of the podcast and if you are a Hearts fan, please think about subscribing, smash that like button if you do enjoy this episode of the podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. All the socials are on screen and will be in the description as well. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at SIWY Pod. You can also get in contact with us especially through our email as well, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And alternatively, the first time I'm saying this in God knows how long, you can get in contact with both of us on Twitter. Both of us. I have finally joined the 21st century and I have made myself a Twitter account. And literally, I feel like about 10 because literally this is all new to me. I don't know what to actually do. Because when I started it was literally all these tweets. I'm like, I don't know any of these people. What's going on here? I don't know anything. You have to put that aside. You can get in contact with both Alan on his Twitter page and on my Twitter page as well as my YouTube channel in the same name, What Ewan's Doing. So yes, as said beforehand, for the news segment, we're going to talk a bit about some contracts. As most of you will know or might not know, we have a very large number of the players that are going to be out of contract at the end of the season. It's obviously been a bit of a talking point throughout the start of the season as well, particularly with Suter back as well. There was a lot of talk about his contract at the start of the season, and more recently as well, there's been a bit of talk with Halkett as well. But Alan, you can kick us off, mate. So obviously, as I just said, recently there's been a bit of talk with Halkett about his contract talks for the last few weeks. Can you put a bit of light on that, man? And what can we expect in general from the contracts that we potentially have to get sort of tied down?
Yeah, of course. Essentially, as you said, we have a very large list of players who are out of contract at the end of the season. And it's concerning because a large number of
A little
them
bit.
are defenders. And obviously add our goalkeeper to that as well.
Yeah, so
Um,
pretty much all. Yeah.
so the list, I'll just rattle the names off quickly. Gordon, Suter, Smith, Halkett, Kingsley, Halliday, Haring, Nandule, and Walker. That's 9 players for those that weren't counting.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So
yeah.
just a bit.
Aye.
I mean, it's one of those. There's probably 3 or 4 there that I'm not overly concerned about because I know the chances are that they're going to stay. I would say Gordon, I'd say Smith, I'd say Kingsley, because they're the 3 that, have kind of publicly said they're happy and they're, just waiting for that conversation to be had. Suter is a situation that worries me.
Yeah.
Just because I don't like that we're waiting, but I can understand why we're waiting as well.
Yeah, like, I mean, it does concern me, but at the same time, I think, like, because, no, like you said there, but like, both Kingsley and Halkett, and to include Suter in that, they're pretty much the spine of the team as we speak. And I think, like, for all as much as we've had our ups and downs about Halkett, I would like to see those 3 players tied down relatively first, because, like, we'll like sort of talk about it there, but after today's game, Halkett has kind of shown me that he doesn't effectively need Suter to work in a back 3. Yeah, like, we've like sort of like essentially kind of worked out as a back 2. He doesn't relatively fit well in that, but when he's in that center of a back 3, like, again, like, I didn't have any, was it the complaints about his like sort of performance on the pitch. I thought like it was absolutely solid. But yeah, like, I mean, would you like agree with that? Those 3 players would be kind of relatively up the list, in terms of the contract talks.
I think so. I think they have to be. I think Halkett's a sensitive one because, like, it's funny. I put a Twitter poll out recently about what people thought about the Halkett situation and would people give him a contract or would they not? And let me see if I can find it to double check what it's sitting at just now. Right, here we are. So I said, and this was before today's game. So I put up a Twitter poll and it's actually just ended not too long ago. And it was new deal for Halkett, yes or no? Now, the response surprised me, but doesn't actually now that I look at it again.
Okay.
So 57 votes, and it was 72% yes, 28% no. Now, I think if we'd put that Twitter poll out maybe about 6 months ago, I think it might have been the other way around.
Yeah,
but
I
think Halkett's kind of grown into people's good books, and they're like looking at him now going, he's a good squad option to have, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, man. Absolutely.
But then, obviously, I did a follow-up poll to that because there was obviously talk about Suter and his contractual situation. And it was a simple, who's more likely to sign a new contract at Hearts? Is it Suter or is it Halkett? Now, this one didn't have as many votes, annoyingly, but Halkett 75%, Suter 25%.
See, again,
now,
that would say again, like, that would surprise me, but it doesn't at the same time. Like, of course, like, I mean, like, again, I'm pretty sure I said it before. From a financial aspect for the club, Suter is probably where it's going to actually be, and obviously, if it gets to January and if we've not kind of got him tied down as such, then we've got to take into the possibility that he could be possibly on his way out. But like again, that all falls down to like sort of how he does on the pitch, how he keeps himself fit. Would we be in a position to actually let him go in terms of the squad we have? Because again, like all those players that you mentioned as well, most of them, or if not all of them, are all part of our was it at the back line, and taken into consideration as well, because we've not like sort of mentioned the players that we've got in on loan as well. Like was it the one of which being Cochrane, like so that's essentially our entire back line. So yeah, I mean, what would your thoughts be on that in terms of this Twitter thing? Like, I mean, would you think that he's got to be the number one sort of target that we have to tie down, or would you feel not just solely based on that response from the poll, but in a sense that would you think that now, just to play like sort of the devil's advocate, like would you feel that throughout the next year until the end of the season, would you think that now would be a good time to kind of cash in? Or
I think it's a difficult one. I really do. I think
yeah,
Suter is one of those players that if we get him on a new contract, he'll be probably our most valuable asset in terms of resale value.
Absolutely.
It's a difficult one because I look at the Dundee United example with Shankland. Shankland was coming into the last year of his contract this season, signalled to Dundee United he had no intention of signing a new contract. So Dundee United punted him to Belgium for £1 million. And I'm not saying that Lawrence Shankland would have went for more than $1 million. I think $1 million is reasonable. But, he scored goals in the Scottish Premier League. He scored goals in the Championship. He's a goal scorer for Dundee United, and he has been for a long time. If they'd got him on a new contract and he was there this season, it's a chance for him to score more goals and then potentially increase his value.
Yeah.
I mirror the Suter situation with that, but Suter's biggest thing is the fitness and his injury record. He appears to be over that at this moment in time, which is great. Obviously, ironically missed today because of a slight injury. But
not for the fact as well that it was it at the birthday conveniently as well. But like
exactly. But no, Suter would be the first one I would at least be asking. Look, do you want to stay? At least find out what his intentions are, because he's a young player. He might say, I've done all I can at Hearts. Maybe wants a new challenge somewhere else, in which case, fair enough. If he's no intention of sitting down around the table with Robbie and Joe Savage, then maybe January is a time where you go, okay, well, you want a new challenge. We don't want to lose you for nothing. Let's be reasonable. We could make something happen. But yeah, it's I would say it's a priority, but then equally, I mean, the article that I was going to reference in the news section was that Robbie Nielsen said that they're not going to start contract talks with players until nearer January because of the start of the season that we've had. He doesn't want to distract them from that. And he almost wants his players to prove that they should get new contracts. And I think there's probably, in that list of 9, there's probably, well, I'd say, I mean, your favourite Andy Halliday's on that list. I think he has to prove he needs a new contract, to be honest, because I don't think he's as high up the list as you'd like him to be, I'm sure.
As much as it pains me to say it, yeah. I mean, like not to get too sort of deep into that, but like, I mean, I think you've got. I think I've got to take it into like consideration that the fact that I think, at the start of the season, like players like was it Ed the Pescu, like the Moore, like those were players that we all thought, right, yeah, we don't particularly need you, and with the new sort of setup that we've got, like, in terms of the recruitment and in terms of how we're doing them the deals as well, etc. There's a part of me that thinks that Halliday might not be here at the start of next season. I think, a lot can change, like in terms of them,
of course,
of what will happen in the next sort of wee bit throughout this season. Like, because like we said, like sort of while we like sort of had to watch the game as well, it's nice to see that there's a lot of the competition now for starting roles. And like, who knows? Like, again, I think one player that is certain from that list, and we did talk about him a wee bit in depth last week as well. Jamie Walker, I think that just kind of I didn't actually know that he was in the last year of his contract, and I think that kind of signifies something that I feel that he, like 99.9% of me thinks that he will not be here, even as far as January.
Yeah. I think you're right on that. I think the thing is, I'm looking at the list. I think Gordon's nailed on for a new contract because that's a no-brainer. He wants to stay here. Suter, I'm 50-50 on. Smith, I reckon we'll get one.
Yeah, I reckon,
Halkett, I think it'll depend on if there's anybody else that we could get that might be better than him.
Yeah.
And obviously it might depend on Suter's situation as well.
Literally what I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got Kingsley, who obviously I think last week came out saying how happy he was and how settled he was. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a new deal.
Yeah.
Halliday is 50-50 for me.
Yeah, again, no, I agree.
Herring, I think we'll get one, but he could be another one. You don't know.
Yeah,
you just don't
know. Yeah, like again, because we again just talked about it sort of like quickly beforehand as well. Like, the way that was it at the Benny, like, it's been outstanding. Devlin has came out of the ranks amazingly well, and of course we'll talk about that. But like, again, I think Haring, again, just like you said with Halkett, I think that kind of depends on where Benny will be in particular when it comes down to the contracts, like, as well, because I think, like, surprising to say, I think Haring would be an asset, of course, like, to actually still have, like, as part of the squad, because, like, if we've only just got the squad in terms of depth to a good, like, sort of the balance now, then we're obviously going to want to retain most of these players to kind of keep that, like, sort of like, the balance as well.
Yeah, and just the last one on the list before we move on to maybe talking about the football and actually being positive, is Nanduli. Now, there's a world where Nanduli says, actually, do you know what? I don't want a new contract. He might think he could be a starter somewhere else. And, I don't know whether that'll happen. And I think Nanduli's enjoying being at Hearts. So I'm sure if he was offered a contract, he'd probably sign it. But strikers will want to play, and if he's not going to be, he might well be happy coming off the bench and contributing. And he did it again today and did well. But it depends where his mind's at, whether he wants to be a starter and play every week, or whether he's happy at Hearts, who should be a top 6, if not top 4 team in Scottish football. If he's happy being a part of that squad and coming off the bench and contributing, then sign him up on a new contract. But he might think, you know what, I could go back down to England and get a move down there again. He was at Blackpool before he was with us, and I think he was their top goal scorer for the season. So he's proven he can score goals down there. So it's a difficult one, but I think Nanduli should get a new contract if he's keen to have one.
Yeah, a lot. Again, like, in terms of the fans, I think that would be very sort of half and half, like, in terms of what their opinion is, because of course, like, we've talked about how he's had a lot of stick, but at the same time he's had a lot of, like, sort of the praise as well. So again, he could probably be like another 50-50 one as well. So we'll just have to see sort of how that sort of pans out throughout that time. So yeah, just nothing but a waiting game. So every single player on that list, fucking play your hearts out, son. And yeah, so I think that kind of wraps the news segment up. So thank you very much, Alan, for that in-depth analysis there, because I wouldn't have had a clue of where to find that shit. So thank you very much for that, mate. So yeah, we move on to the more the positive side of the podcast, where it was one of the most easiest, but one of the most, I wouldn't go as far to say it was the boring, but you know, there's only so much credit that we can give Heart, because, like, of course, it goes without saying that we played brilliant today. However, I have never seen a more sleepier team, a more Canopy R side than Livingston to put up today. But yeah, I mean, like, we're going to be talking about that anyway. So before we do, I'll just remind everybody of the starting lineup. So we, of course, had the Gordon in goal. We had a back five of Smith, Kingsley, Halkett, Moore, and Cochrane, with the centre being the Benny and Devlin on his home debut. And we also had Kai, Woodburn, and Boyce up front. So you're starting the thoughts on that, man. Again, were you particularly happy, like, sort of with the starting lineup?
I was pleased to see he went back to 3-4-3 after the experiment in Dingwall, the 4-1-4-1 getting firmly put in the bin. Don't get me wrong, I mean, there's benefits to those systems as well, but the 3-4-3 gives us a balance across the park in every area. I think Benny looked so much better with a partner next to him. Mm-hmm. Devlin was outstanding, but we'll gush about him for a while after this. The back three looks solid. Halkett did his bit. Taylor Moore came in, and I was actually very impressed. I think today shows that he's a centre back.
Oh yeah, like, I totally retract what I said last week as well on him.
But he looked solid. I mean, I know you're saying Livingston were average, and they were really, really average. It's probably one of the worst performances from an away side I've seen at Tynecastle in a long time.
Yep.
But everything that our defence had to do, they dealt with it. And I think that is obviously a massive part of the 3-4-3. Cochrane and Smith, Cochrane and Smith on the fullback, the wing back positions were fantastic today. That's what you want from wing backs. They got forward, they helped out, they were solid when they had to be defensively. But Livingston, I don't know what their game plan was. I really don't know what their game plan was. But
I don't think they knew, mate. I was
no, but going back to the lineup, I was pleased that Gary Mackay-Steven wasn't starting, because I think his recent form hasn't been good enough.
It's not, no.
So I think it was good that he was rested or put on the bench for a bit. Barry Mackay, Ben Woodburn deserved to play. But yeah, no, all round happy with the lineup. A little bit questioned why Suter was unavailable, but then obviously found out not long after that it was a knock that he had in training from Thursday, so they rested him. Robbie said it was just a rest. There's no danger he'll miss more than today, which is good.
Again, I'm not going to be talking about Livingston that much, because genuinely, like, I said to you at the start, the opening maybe 3 minutes, they looked lively. They looked like, getting in at each other, blah, blah, blah. But then literally it just went, like, it fell down so drastically, like, sort of at the bottom. So, and they didn't look a threat at any part of the whole game. Like genuinely not one part of the game did they look like, any sort of attacking threat. So and I'll be very honest as well, I didn't actually write any notes in particular, only that like, we sort of mentioned him at the start there, so we may as well talk about him now. Cammy Devlin, literally, as I just said, I didn't write a note down until we actually scored the first goal. for any team that he is up against, what a nippy wee shite he must be. Like, he was everywhere today. Like, literally, like, he was going in for every ball. He was being 5 foot. He was going up for headers and he was fucking winning them. Like,
Oh,
absolutely brilliant display. And, these are the kind of players that you see, like, even if he didn't have a great, was it the game, he was putting in 100%. Like, there was so much energy about him, and
oh,
and like I said before, like, he was just going for everything. And I mean, it would be nice to see, like, his stats, like, what his stats were in terms of how much, like, he ran, the passage combinations are, but I'm gonna naturally assume that they'll be high. And so,
I'll
um,
uh,
uh,
I'll shout out the Maroon report because no doubt they'll be on there at some point very
good lad,
soon.
good lad. So yeah, I'm gonna assume that you shared the same views as I on Devlin.
Yeah, definitely. He was outstanding. I know you said that you didn't want to talk too much about Livingston, and I don't either, but I will say the early part of that game, the first 20 minutes, I think Livingston's game plan was just to sit in and just defend. Like you said, for the first 5 minutes, they looked okay. They were, they had a bit of the ball, but it was almost like as soon as we got the ball, they just went, "All right, that's our
Yeah,
that's our game plan out the window. Let's just sit back
back
now."
back down.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I sent it to you, and it was fairly spot on as far as I'm concerned. That they were happy for us to have the ball in the
Yeah.
positions that we had it because they were tight, they were solid, they were just sitting and defending, and a lot of our passes were played in front of them.
Mm.
We couldn't really get through them. We tried a few passes forward, but it just broke down and didn't work. And then they would just lump it up the park, and Halkett would head it back to them. And it was, the Livingston game plan just went out the window when we scored the first goal.
Pretty
And
much.
it's one of those after 20 minutes, just before the goal, actually. We were playing really slowly in the first 15, 20 minutes. I don't know if you thought that, but I
Yeah.
think it was just after about 20 minutes, not long before we scored the first goal. You could see that like Barry Mackay was getting on the ball a bit more. We were speeding it up a little bit, and we were spreading the ball about, which Livingston couldn't cope with. They could not cope with being stretched across the park like we did to them.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of get what you actually mean in terms of the game being a bit slow. I mean, I think in general, I think like, I don't think we had anything to be concerned about in terms of Livingston being a threat, but at the same time, I'll be honest, I thought the first 20 was a bit shite. I was trying to think. I was trying to think of a very, like, sort of like a nice word there, but it was shite. There's nothing really sort of happening as such. Like,
Nah,
yeah, like, I mean, like, we were getting like yeah, like, we looked relatively in control. I know I said last week that, like, are we kind of like sort of played into the illusion that we are in control, but we were.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't think it was really until the first goal happened that then we just kind of steamrolled the whole game. Again, I would just like to give a shout out to, I mean, in particular, the left hand side of both Kingsley and Cochrane. I thought most, well, sort of like, a lot of the game was played kind of down that left flank, and I thought they both did exceptional. I thought Cochrane probably had the best game he's had, like, sort of since he's here. Again, like, he defended very well. As I said before, like, he got himself down that left flank a lot as well. Like, he managed to create a lot of chances as well, and I'm pretty sure he was involved in all three goals as well. I'm presuming him and Mackay as well.
yes, yeah, that's
Yes.
right,
So
that's
yeah,
right.
like, so yeah, I've got, yeah, had a great game. And
Hmm.
then, well, like we said there, mate, I only got to the first goal. It didn't take too long. After 25. It was a beautiful floating ball from Barry Guy. Like, it was a great like sort of the pass to pick out to Cochrane, and then Cochrane just like squared it back into the unlikely goal scorer. Like, he came out of nowhere. But it was it was a great the finish from Smith, and I think that's a good way to kind of say, yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, it's one of those. That's what the system does. The 3-4-3, and when it's effective, is Cochrane and Smith getting forward and helping. And
yeah,
we didn't see it enough against Hibs, or didn't see it effectively enough against Hibs. And even in the Aberdeen game, they were a bit stop-start. But today was the complete example of how the system works and when it works. And I know you said obviously a lot of the game came down the left with Kingsley. Even Kingsley was bombing forward. He was a centre back. But yeah, it was the same down the right, to be fair. Michael Smith just I think Michael Smith just got a license to go wherever he wants on the pitch at Tynecastle. He just floats about everywhere.
100%,
and then
100%.
Barry Mackay, it was a fantastic ball to Cochrane. Cochrane just lays it off for Smith, and what a finish. What a finish.
It was rifled, absolutely rifled.
Keeper's not saving that anyway. Brilliant finish.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, I mean, from there, I guess it kind of set the tone of the whole game. Again, we looked a lot more confident. I think, like, again, we kind of played, like you said there, like, I think the game in general was a bit slow to start with, but I think, like, once that first goal went in, we kind of set the tone, and the confidence was more like sort of with us as such. And then that proved to be right, considering 7 was at the minutes on. I mean, you pointed it out, and I didn't actually notice it until I watched it back. So, of course, we got ourselves the penalty after 32 minutes with the Benny getting like sort of defiled in the box. But the build-up play was relatively the same as what the first goal was, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. It was exactly the same. Mackay cutting in and crossing the ball for Cochrane, and Cochrane picks out Benny, and Benny passes it to Devlin, and then as he's passing it, he gets fouled. But Devlin got fouled as well.
Yeah.
So the two of them got fouled. So could have been a penalty for either one of the challenges. But it was Benny's footwork, and I'll say that about him today. Like, obviously, Cammy Devlin will get a lot of the headlines for being just an absolute superstar today. But
yeah,
I thought Benny was brilliant as well. I mean, we seem to have kind of got used to Benny being brilliant, so it's not much of a surprise when he's brilliant. No, but I just thought today, I think today, and I know it's easy for us to get carried away because it was Livingston at Tynecastle and we absolutely steamrolled them. But I think today was one of Benny's best performances. And I think the footwork for the penalty, he had a few moments where he was taking players on, and he was looking forward a lot more and kind of moving forward a lot more than I've seen him do in recent games. And he was on the edge of the box, and he obviously, his little bit of footwork passes it off to Devlin and just gets chopped and goes down, and it's a stonewall penalty every day of the week.
Aye, and again, that brings the boys onto 9 goals for this season. Again, like I'm pretty sure you did it as well last week. Like, so that's one thing concerning Hearts that I will never be anxious about, like in terms of the penalty and the boys as well. Just like, you just say, aye, yep, sound. His celebration was interesting as well. I've never seen boys that's charismatic. Like, let me just let you just like that. Just shish.
I know. I don't know what it was about. There must have been some meaning to it. There must have been some meaning to it, but I have no idea. I have no idea what it was about. But like you said, when the penalty was awarded, I was like, well, this is 2-0. Like, there's no way he's missing this.
No, man, exactly.
But yeah, great penalty again, though. Sends the keeper the wrong way. He seems to do that a lot with penalties. He likes to send the goalkeeper completely the wrong way, which is great, to be fair.
Absolutely, really man.
Really pleased for him. And he's targeting 10 goals before Christmas. He's on 9, and we're not even in November yet. So
easy, easy. Absolutely. I mean, if he wants to really challenge himself, I reckon maybe 15 is a relatively very doable. Like, before was it Christmas time. So yeah, from that again. I don't think there was much in terms of a talking point throughout the first half, apart from the ridiculous shot again, just coming from nowhere. He just seemed to spring out of the ground like that man. He just said, "Get the fucking
unbelievable."
Again, absolute rocket.
Is that the Michael Smith one? Is it?
Oh, how did you guess, man? How did you guess?
I thought it was a goal, to be honest.
I
thought it was a goal.
did as well, genuinely. I genuinely that would yeah.
Oh, he's just ridiculous, isn't he? He's just ridiculous.
Smith just doesn't. I mean, we say that, we may soon have to kind of look into like sort of the prospect of maybe getting a replacement in for Smith at some point, but at this rate, he doesn't look like he's down at any point. Not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think the right wing back position is something that he can do relatively well in games like today. He's been caught out a few times this season already in that position, but in games like today, when he's not being tracked, he's literally, there was nobody anywhere near him. He had the freedom of that side of the park to just run up and down all day. And yeah, it was, I mean, if that shot right before the end of the first half, if that had gone in, the roof would have came off Tynecastle. It was an unbelievable hit. Deserved a goal.
Definitely, man. But yeah, I mean, I guess that was. I think that was the last chance of the first half. Again, I didn't actually write down much. I just said, like, genuinely, I wrote very easy first half. Yeah. So, but like again, like
pretty much.
And again, like Livingston, they just didn't look threatening at all. Like, they didn't. It just almost felt like they didn't want to try and attack us, like, at all. Like, what I mean? They just look absolutely shite. See, there you go again.
I just think that, like, whatever their system was, they played Andrew Shinney as the striker. And last time I checked, he's not a striker. So I don't know whether they've got injuries or issues or whatever, but whatever their game plan was didn't work. At halftime, Martindale made 2 substitutions for Livingston.
He did.
Going into the second half. And part of me, I could understand why, because I was like, well, he's obviously changed the system because they can't be anywhere as bad as they were in the first half. But see, it's one of those situations that he's made 2 substitutions at halftime, and this is something I've written down as well. You make 2 subs at halftime, you've then got to hope that pays off because you've not got any other way of changing it. You've only got 1 substitution left for the next 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed a bit like a reaction to how well we'd played in the first half and the fact that they just couldn't get anywhere near us, that he thought, no, I have to change it. And he's thrown 2 on, and it didn't make the blindest bit of difference.
Exactly. I mean, I will tell you actually one thing that Martindale did have to change. That fucking outfit he had on, like, Jesus, his colour coordination is fucking shocking as well. Like, honestly. So we're going on to the second half. Again, I mean, I'll let you start on that one, mate, because again, I didn't actually write much throughout the first sort of 15 because I didn't feel as if there was anything note like worthy. But your thoughts, like, sort of going in the second half, were you expecting more like sort of the goals, or?
Do you know what it was? I think at halftime, I think I had the typical Hearts fan response of, yes, this is 2-0, but if Livingston somehow managed to find the next goal, then it opens it up again. Even though they looked nowhere near likely of getting a goal in the first half.
It would still be likely. It would still be likely first.
Well, that's it. That's it. So there's obviously being delighted with the first half performance, but then also having that sense of, let's not throw this away. Let's not give them anything. And let's try and get another goal. Let's try and just kill it.
Yeah.
And in the first 5 minutes, we had the Stephen Kingsley free kick.
Oh, yes. That was
I think it was Woodburn that took the original one, or it might have been Kingsley, but it hit the wall. It hit a hand of one of the boys in the wall,
Yeah.
and I thought it was a penalty. To be honest, I
Yeah.
thought I thought the ref was going to give a penalty because it was right on the edge of the box. It was
Fair
inside
enough.
the D on the edge of the box, so I thought it was a penalty. But then obviously it ended up just being a free kick, and Kingsley hit it. And like I said last week, I'm still not at the stage where I'm as confident in Stephen Kingsley taking a free kick as I am in Liam Boyce taking a penalty. But he's got that technique to be able to test the goalkeeper. And he did
Definitely. He
again.
did.
And the
Yeah.
goalkeeper makes a good save from that one. So that could have been 3-0, and that was only 5 minutes into the second half.
After that, it wasn't actually too long after that when was it the Barim Kai missed. I mean, would you call that a sitter? I did.
I
would.
wouldn't.
I
wouldn't.
Right, okay.
I wouldn't. It was. I don't know. Again, I don't know what the Livingston defenders do, and he literally passes it across his box, which is literally rule 101 that you do not do as a defender. Do not play a square pass across your box, but he does it. And Barry Mackay, who I thought was fantastic today, he was my pick for man of the match. But he gets onto it, and I think it's one of those. I think he gets to the ball and he's not really sure what he wants to do, and by the time he's decided he's going to chip it over the keeper's already at him. I think if he'd had a bit more awareness of the space that he had and the time that he had, he could have just nicked it round him.
Literally what I was about to say, because it kind of reminded me of the Billy King goal against Hibs, where he just takes it past him, and that's what I was kind of like expecting him to actually do. But if he was a bit under sort of at the pressure, then fair enough. But I mean, by that point, I wasn't too angry about it. Like fair enough if it was still 0-0, and maybe would have been a bit more sort of critical about it. But again, I don't think we were in any sort of danger to lose that sort of lead that had at that point. So again, shortly after, we made our first substitution of the game, where we had Nan come on for the Boyce. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't really feel as if it was necessary as such. But again, I mean, I guess you could kind of take that from Robbie saying, well, look, we're in pretty much control of the game. We're not really going to be in danger of going to actually lose the lead. So you said Nan had a good game, but did he? Not to create an argument, but I didn't think he had a bad game by any means, but I didn't really think he did anything. And I'm not saying that in a horrible way. I just didn't. I mean, unless there was anything in specific that you saw, I didn't really see anything from him. But I'm not for once saying that he had a bad game.
No, I think just going back to the substitution itself, I think it's nice to have the luxury to be able to bring Boyce off.
Yeah.
Because the game, even though it was only 2-0 at that point, the game was effectively done. Because Livingston's change of system made absolutely no difference to the way the game was going. But Robbie knew that the game was virtually up at this point, and having the luxury of being able to bring off Liam Boyce, who's been our most consistent performer this season, in terms of being one of the better players on the park and being one of the most impactful players on the park. He scores goals. Half an hour to play in a game when you're 2-0 up and you're coasting is the perfect time to be able to bring that player off and say, do you know what, have a rest for half an hour. We've not been in a position this season so far where we've been able to do that, because when we've been making subs, we've been bringing Nandule on to support Boyce, or you said it as well, the changes that we've made in previous games have been to change the system, but we didn't need to do that today. And I think
absolutely.
I think that's why when Nandule came on, even though he slotted into the 3-4-3 and sort of played as the front man, I'm not saying he had a brilliant game, but he was involved, and he
Yeah,
gave the
no.
Livingston defenders something else to think about, which is what he always does.
Hmm.
And he was involved in the third goal as well.
Hmm.
He held the ball up for Barry Mackay and did well to hold it up. He was down by the corner flag and managed to nick it back for Mackay to do his part in it. But yeah, look, Nandule is that sort of player. We've spoken about him before. You can bring him on and he'll do something. You can start him and he'll do something. So it's nice to see him coming on and just being involved
Aye.
and being a nuisance, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what it was. He was a nuisance for them.
But that is a nice wee segue, mate, because like you said, not too long after, Nan holds up the ball to slot through the guy who again, like, like involved in everything. Like again, like he just slotted it right back to Cochrane, who at first I thought he might have actually squared it back again, but no, he went all guns blazing and he scored his first goal of the season as well, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, his first goal for the Hearts,
Absolutely.
capping what was a very good performance from him, I would say.
100%, man. Again, like, I don't think it would be too far of a shout for his name to be thrown in for man of the match as well. Like again, like, he was involved in pretty much everything as much as Mackay was as well. But I think if it was across them two, like, Mackay did extremely well throughout the whole
Yeah.
game. But again, as I said throughout while we were watching the game, just fucking puts our head to head to shame, man. Like, I'm getting tired of talking about that now because it genuinely makes me upset and depressed saying that has not moved after 6 games.
It's
just
4-3 now. We've got a point each on the board.
But fucking, it still doesn't make a difference though. Like, it really does. But even though, again, this is the point where I got a bit angry, not at the actual game itself, but I was getting angry at my laptop because when it started to not the work for a brief 2 minutes, I didn't get a chance to see my man make his fabulous return onto the Tynecastle Park. So yeah, shortly after the goal itself, Kingsley was then brought off for Andy Halliday. I'm going to naturally assume that was again just to make sure that he doesn't get any knocks as well, because I'm pretty sure at the start of the game itself, Kingsley was at the field and he looked in a slight sort of discomfort with his ankle, I think it was, and literally that was only the first 5, I think it was, and even though like I was a bit concerned, like literally I text you like straight away saying, oh no, please, no again, no again.
But yeah, that's what it was. He was taken off, obviously, because he was in the wars. He was knocked all over the park, kicked up and down the pitch. But again, it's like we were saying before, having options to bring on, having an Andy Halliday to come on to slot in at left back, it's not a bad thing. You know,
it's never a bad thing. Never a bad thing.
We had a Nandule to come on for Boyce. We had a Halliday to come on for Kingsley. And then obviously towards the end of the game, we had Peter Haring coming on for Halkett. So, it's nice to have these players to be able to bring on and say, right, game's done, put it to bed. You can come on and run about for a bit.
So yeah, I mean, again, for me personally, that was the last note that I wrote. Apart from, I wrote down literally the exact same thing as I did at the end of the first half. That was one of the most easiest games I've ever seen a stroll, like in a long time, and considering that scary stat you told me that we hadn't beat Livingston in particular at home since 2005. Like,
it's ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Aye.
Hadn't beaten them at home in the league. I think it was 2005, 2006 season.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's mad. It's absolutely mad. But it's one of those situations. This is what Hearts should be able to do against sides that are inferior. to us.
Yeah.
Because Livingston are a very strange team. They can either turn up and do very well, or, as we saw today, turn up and not do anything. And maybe we got them on a bad day. Maybe that's me giving them too much credit. I don't know, but
Maybe.
we were absolutely fantastic today. And I think
Absolutely.
the last kind of thought, the last note that I had from the game was just some of our play throughout the game, the passing, the moving, the tempo. It just came easy. It just looked so
easy. It was
easy.
so natural. Yeah. It was
and I think
natural.
We mentioned it in our preview to the Edinburgh Derby episode that we did, about having intelligent football players. And I think we have that now. I think players Ben Woodburn was quite quiet today. I don't think he had a great game. Of all the players that started, I don't think he was fantastic. But you could see him, even in that, going back to the first 20 minutes, you could see him having the ball and going, well, no one's making a run for me. What do you want me to do with it? But he's looking for runs that some of our players are maybe not capable of doing because they're not on his wavelength. But and even like Benny, Benny played in the Premier League for Everton. Cammy Devlin has played in Australia, is highly rated. And when I did that player profile, the guy that gave me the information said that this is a guy who's got a very high footballing IQ, and that's one of his strengths. And you saw it today. We were just so much smarter than Livingston, and we just worked the ball incredibly well when we did have it and when we didn't have it.
Yeah,
but it was we barely got out of first gear.
Yeah, and I don't think we had to once the first goal went in.
No, it was inevitable, and then like I said, the third goal went in. And we could have scored more goals. We didn't. The best thing about it was we didn't create like lots of clear-cut chances. Aside from maybe the 3 goals, the Barry Mackay chance and the Kingsley free kick, I think those were probably our 5 shots on target, to be honest. But we just controlled it. We just absolutely strolled it. And that's what you want at Tynecastle against sides that are not as good as us.
And that is a beautiful way to wrap up that segment, mate. So yes, just to kind of wrap things on that, it ended in an easy win for Heart of Midlothian, 3-0 against Livingston, which currently, until at least tomorrow, puts us up into second place. So just to kind of go 2 games that were played alongside ours, Dundee lost at home 1-0 to Rangers, and on form, and our next match for next week will be against Motherwell, who had a home win against Ross County, and they won 2-1. So I'm not gonna lie, I think just in terms of how well they've started, I'm only comparing it because we recently played them not too long ago, but I'm more concerned about them coming to Tynecastle than Hibs. I don't know what it is, but they are just on fire right now.
Yeah,
there's just something about it.
I tend to agree. I think next week is going to be a very different game from today.
Yeah.
I think Motherwell have got players that will hurt us if we let them. So it'll be interesting to see. I think if we manage to get a win, I'll be delighted. If we manage to get a win in the same manner as today, I'd be over the moon, but I don't expect that.
Yeah.
But Motherwell, Robbie said it briefly after the game today, that Motherwell will come to Tynecastle to try and win the game. And that could make it a very, very entertaining game of football. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. I've not got actually much to add to that. In the terms of I do agree in the fact that it's going to be a very interesting game. Like you said, I don't think Motherwell will take a point as a good result just based on the fact of the form that they've been in. I think again, if you were to say to Robbie now, was it the would you take a point? And I'm probably going to be inclined to think that he probably would, just based on the form that both us and them are on, like sort of right now. But we'll just have to wait and see it until next week. Now, usually at this point, me and Alan would have the prediction for that game, but we're not going to do it right now because we're literally recording a few hours just after the game itself that we've just played against Livingston. So we're in no frame of mind to be sort of making those sort of assumptions right now. But we will update our head-to-head with Prediction League throughout next week, and we will give you what our thoughts and what our scoreline will be against Motherwell next Saturday. Not that it'll make any difference, but we'll just
I need to go away and do my homework.
Yeah, I have to as well, mate. Like genuinely, but hey ho. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps us up for this episode of the podcast. So yeah. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching the podcast. As always, it is appreciated. And as said at the start, if you are a fan of the podcast, more specifically the Since I Was Young podcast, please hang about subscribing and smash that like button. As always, if you want to get in contact with us through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, you can, all on screen at SIWI Pod. All links will be in the description, as well as our email as well, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And if you want to get in contact with either myself or Alan as well, you can. Our links to our Twitter pages and my YouTube channel will all be in the description as well. But yes, until next week, Alan, thank you very much for joining me. As always, it has been a pleasure, sir, and to actually talk about Hearts taking all 3 points, always a good place to talk, mate.
Oh, definitely. And I'm going to spend the next 3 or 4 days just in love with Cammy Devlin.
Yeah, you and me both. Absolutely, man.
What a man.
But yes, as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. You take care. Bye for now.
Cheesy game show wave.